Hello participants. So far we have discussed introductory part of dynamics of foreign direct investment and Make in India initiative. Now we discuss policy development of FDI in India. The policy development of FDI in India is divided into 5 different policy regime. First one is ambitious inward FDI. The period is 1943 to 1961. Initially, India had a very limited number of multinational companies. The majority of investment were from the United Kingdom. Multinational companies were resource seekers engaged in the raw materials and extractive industries. Because of the abundance of cheap available resources and low labor cost, India adopted import substitution policy to protect development of domestic manufacturing sector and other heavy industries and replace foreign imports with domestically manufactured goods. The balance of payment crisis and foreign exchange reserves pushed the government for liberalization of FDI policy for manufacturing industries such as of heavy electric equipments, drugs, synthetic rubber and fertilizers. Second policy period is controlled inward FDI. The period is 1962 to 1977. Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973 was enacted, which allowed foreign companies to possess only up to 40% of the equity in Indian company. Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practice Act 1969 controlled the size of multinational companies' operations and pricing strategy. The idea was to regulate trade, control monopolistic behaviors and restrict the economic power of foreign companies in the Indian marketplace. As a consequence, many companies including IBM and Coca-Cola decided to cease their operation and leave the country. The number of joint venture and FDI inflows decreased to Indian economy. Then the government offered incentive package for export-based company by setting up export processing zones to attract export-based multinational companies. As a result, a considerable number of multinational companies from Japan, USA and the European Union entered into India. Third policy period is called cautious inward FDI. The period is 1978 to 1990. Due to technological lagging and domestic firms lost their competitive edge, changed the attitude of India's government towards foreign investors and offer new incentive package for attraction of FDI in India. The new incentive package offered included tax incentive, a special infrastructure for 100% export-based multinational companies, reduction of tariff and import taxes, expediting clearance and ease in the FDI approval procedures without having a local business partner. Overall, FDI inflows had fluctuating pattern during this period. The joint ventures between multinational companies and Indian counterparts more than double during this period. Next policy period is called Globalized Inward FDI. Period start from 1991 to 2014. It is also a start with the balance of payment crisis. This period is a turning point in the history of India's FDI developments. In the early 1990s, the issues of foreign exchange market crisis was so critical for India that it almost put the country on the brink of bankruptcy because of enormous deficits in fiscal and current account, high inflation rates, rising debts to financial obligations and inadequate maintenance of foreign exchange market. Balance of payment crisis. The causes of balance of payment crisis are as the government expenditure was more than the earnings, hence the fiscal deficit was high. The gross fiscal deficit rose from 9% of GDP in 1980 to 81 to 12% more, more than the earnings, hence the fiscal deficit was high. The gross fiscal deficit rose from 9% of GDP in 1980 to 81 to 12.7% of GDP in 1990 to 91. The internal debt of government rose from 35% of GDP in 1985 to 86 to 53% of GDP in 1990 to 91. High current account deficit triggered by rise in the crude oil prices because of the Gulf War. By June 1991, India has less than $1 billion for forex reserves, just sufficient to meet import requirements for a period of 3 weeks. India was on the verge of defaulting on its international debt obligation. Investors pulled out their money. Short-term credit dried up as exporters were apprehensive that they would not be paid. There are massive rise in inflation rates. Government measures. The government of India initiated a four-pronged strategy to put the economy back on track. First is industrial policy reforms, which include License Raj and Inspector Raj were removed. Industrial licensing was abolished. Measures were taken to ease domestic supply constraint. Measures were taken to increase investments. Trade policy reforms to make export competitive. Rupee was devalued by 20%. Licensing controls and regulations on export were eased. Public sector reforms, there was liberalization of foreign direct investment and opening of public sector for the private and foreign investors. Public sector companies were given more operational freedom to scale up and to make bigger contribution to the economy. Fiscal correction. Subsidies for exports were abolished. The phase of liberalization that finally reversed the unsatisfactory FDI trends in India and changed the investment climate had been implemented through critical programs supported by both the World Bank and IMF in a bid to obtain loan to overcome serious foreign exchange market crisis. The implication of reforms that India had allowed foreign investment up to 51% of equity for 34 industries that were on priority list, extensive reduction of tariff on imports, abolishment of industrial licensing, excluding only a few industries and immediate approval of FDI for majority of Indian economic sector. Throughout this period, the government continuously conducted systematic revision of existing FDI guidelines and enacted updated regulations to further liberalize the market to ensure that India retained and enhanced competitiveness. The introduced FDI policy changes opened the door for many prestigious multinational companies to target India's marketplace because of favorable investment incentives and institutional environment to conduct business there. Many structural reforms that were initiated and instituted along with new approaches that eased the FDI approval procedures and relaxed extensive bureaucratic conduct turn out to be rewarding. 100% of FDI is allowed in majority of sector under the automatic route. The only prohibited sector for non-resident investors are multi-brand retailing, lottery, manufacturing of tobacco related products, atomic industries, railways, cheat fund, trading in transferable rights and Nidhi company. All these highly protected sectors are considered of national interest by the Indian government. There are two routes of foreign direct investment in India. First is automatic route. Under this route, foreign investor is not required to take prior approval from Government of India before making investment in India. Under the approval route, foreign investors is required to take prior approval before making investment in India. There are three categories of FDI investment. First category is in which 100% FDI is permitted under the automatic route. Second category is up to 100% FDI is permitted under the approval route. Third category is it is a mixture of automatic route and approval route. Up to a certain percentage of foreign direct investment, there is no requirement of take the prior approval of government, but beyond that percentage, foreign investor is required to take permission, prior permission from the government before making investment beyond that percentage limit. A non-resident entity can invest in India subject to FDI policy except to those sectors or activities which are prohibited. However, an entity of a country which shares land border with India can invest only under government route. An entity incorporated in Pakistan can invest only under government route in sectors other than defense, space, atomic energy and sector prohibited for foreign investment. Make in India initiative. Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi said while introducing the program in his maiden Independence Day speech from ramparts of the Red Fort on August 15, 2014. The initiative was formally introduced on September 25, 2014 by Mr. Modi at Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi, in the presence of business giants from India and abroad. Honorable Prime Minister said, I want to tell the people of whole world, come make in India, come and manufacture in India, go and sell in any country of the world, but manufacture here. We have a skill, talent, discipline and the desire to do something. We want to give the world an opportunity that come make in India. The slogan was coined to encourage investment and manufacturing in India by attracting business from every corner of the world. Basics of Make in India. Objective of Make in India is to make India a renowned manufacturing hub, inviting various companies from around the world and encourage them to set up their factories and expand their facilities in India. To use the talents and skills of Indian manpower for creating zero defect products. Purpose of Make in India initiative is creating jobs especially for the young generations, development of Indian economy and getting global recognition. The mission of the initiative is manufacture in India and sell the product worldwide. Theme of the initiative, Make in India initiative, is a national program of the Government of India designed to facilitate investment, foster innovation, enhance skill development, protect intellectual property and build best in class manufacturing infrastructure in the country. Make in India, the focus of Make in India initiative is on 25 sectors. These sectors are automobile, automobile components, aviation, biotechnology, chemicals, construction, defense manufacturing, electrical machines, electronic system, food processing, IT and BPM, leather, media and entertainment, mining, oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, ports and shipping, railways, renewable energy, roads and highways, space, textile and garments, thermal power, tourism and hospitality and wellness. The Make in India initiative is based on 4 pillars. These 4 pillars are new mindset, new sectors, new infrastructure, new process. Make in India recognizes ease of doing business as the single most important factor to promote entrepreneurship. Targeted objectives of Make in India initiative: target of an increase in manufacturing sector growth to 12 to 14% per annum. To increase the share of manufacturing sector in the GDP from 16% to 25% by 2022, later revised by 2025. To create 100 million additional jobs by 2025. To promote export-led growth. Policy changes by Make in India were intended to usher growth in 3 key variables of manufacturing sectors: investment, output and employment growth. Performance of Make in India initiative till now. FDI inflows in India stood at US dollar 45.15 billion in 2014 and 15 and have since consecutively reached record FDI inflows for 8 years. The year 2021 to 22 recorded highest ever FDI at US dollar 83.6 billion. The import of toys in financial year 21-22 has reduced by 70% to US dollar 110 million. India's export of toys registered tremendous growth of 636% in April to August 2022 over the same period in 2013. The production linked incentive scheme across 14 key manufacturing sectors was launched in 2020-21 as a big boost to the Make in India initiative. Initiative taken by Government of India to support Make in India initiative. National Single Window Scheme was launched in September 2021 to improve the ease of doing business by providing a single digital platform to investors for approvals and clearance. Gati Shakti. The government has also launched a program for multimodal connectivity to manufacturing zones in the country called the Prime Minister's Gati Shakti program, which will ensure logistical efficiency in business operations through the creation of infrastructure that improves connectivity. One district, one product scheme. This initiative aims at facilitating the promotion and production of indigenous products from each district of country and providing a global platform to the craftsmen and manufacturers of handloom, handicraft, textile, agriculture and processed products, thereby further contributing to the socio-economic growth of various regions of the country. Another initiative is improving toy exports and reducing imports. To address the import of low quality toys, the government introduced several strategic interventions such as increase of basic custom duty from 20% to 60%, implementation of quality control order, mandatory sample testing of imported toys, granting more than 850 BIS licenses to domestic toy manufacturers, development of toys cluster, etc. Another scheme is building semiconductors ecosystem. It is recognizing the importance of semiconductors in the world economy. The government has launched a $10 billion incentive scheme to build a semiconductor display and design ecosystem in India. Issues related to Make in India program. First, investment from cell companies. Large part of Indian FDI is neither foreign nor direct, but come from Mauritius based cell companies which are suspected to be investing black money from India only, which is routed via Mauritius. As per the McKinsey report states that Indian workers in the manufacturing sector are on average almost 4 to 5 times less productive than their counterparts in Thailand and China. Another issue, the size of industrial units is small. For attaining the desired economics of a scale, investing in modern equipment and developing supply chain. Another issue, electricity costs are almost same in India and China, but power outages are much higher in India. Average speeds in China are about 100 km per hour, while in India they are about 60 km per hour. Indian railways have saturated and Indian ports have been outperformed by a lot of Asian countries. Bureaucratic procedures and corruption make India less attractive for foreign investors. Performance evaluation of Make in India initiative. The success of Make in India can be judged by three factors: investment, output and employment growth. The key stated outcome were to increase the share of manufacturing sector to 25% of GDP and to increase additional 100 million jobs in manufacturing sector by 2025. Clearly, both have not happened till date, unlikely to happen by the target year. Manufacturing shares of GDP currently between 15 to 16%. Way forward of Make in India initiative. The Make in India initiative has been striving to ensure that the business ecosystem in the nation is conducive for investors doing business in India and contributing to the growth and development of nation. This has been done through a range of reforms that have led to increased investment inflows as well as economic growth. With this initiative, the businesses in India are aiming that the products that are made in India are also made for the world, adhering to global standards of quality. Thank you.